If you want to join the Boston Consulting Group, you will have to crack the BCG Online Case. And if you wonder what exactly you have to expect, you are at the right place. Welcome back to You in Consulting. What's in it for you today? I will touch briefly on the BCG Potential Test because some of you may still have to take it, but it's gradually being phased out and replaced by the BCG Online Case or the Casey Chatbot interview, which is the focus of today's video. I will provide you with many hot tips on how to excel during your Casey Chatbot interview, and I will also go in depth on strategies on how to prepare effectively for your Casey Chatbot interview. And I will drop some true knowledge bombs in that chapter, so really stay with me. Also, I prepared for you a fully fledged interactive learning session to make you familiar with the type of questions that you have to expect during your Casey Chatbot interview. And if you wonder why I have chosen a palm tree logo for the chapter, stay tuned. After watching my video tutorial on how to crack the McKinsey problem-solving game Imbellus, which you will need to pass in order to get into McKinsey, many of you have approached me, Jack, can you please also make a video on how to crack the BCG online case? Guys, I hear you, and you can see it's really worth hitting me up in the comments. On You in Consulting, I help you with your successful entry, rise and exit as a management consultant, and I share with you unprecedented consulting insider knowledge in a fun way. Also guys, you may remember that I spent 5 years as a consultant and project manager with McKinsey, and you may also be aware that there's some rivalry ongoing between McKinsey and BCG. So for you now, I will leave my wonderful blue McKinsey comfort zone and roll up my sleeves and take you into this grim green BCG territory. Now, just to get the terminology right, when people used to say the BCG online test, they typically referred to the BCG Potential Test, which however also included some online case. But nowadays, when you talk about the BCG Online Case or the BCG Online Case Experience, it typically refers to the Casey Chatbot interview. BCG applicants still have to take the BCG Potential Test in some BCG offices, but the new BCG Online Case is being rolled out around the globe. The BCG Potential Test is or used to be a pure multiple choice test designed to assess your logical reasoning, data interpretation and math skills. It comes with a theme of a single business case in which you have to solve 23 questions in 45 minutes, which leaves you around 2 minutes for each question. You will be confronted with long texts from which you have to draw a conclusion, you have to perform profitability calculations and the like, and you will also be presented with data that you have to analyze. Now you see an example of how the BCG Potential Test actually looks in practice. Source is BCG. On the left hand side of your screen you see the question that you are asked to answer. On the right hand side of the screen you see the data and information that you are presented with to solve this question. Sometimes also you have to maneuver back and forth between different documents and exhibits that you have been given before to solve that question. Now I also know many of you will now pause this video to solve this BCG question, and I think it's a right attitude to have. I have got you covered, guys, so I will come back later to this question and show you a right solution strategy and the correct solution. In contrast to the McKinsey problem-solving game Imbellus, in the BCG Potential Test the focus lies exclusively on the results from your thought process, not on your thought process itself. There had been rumors ongoing that there was a cutoff score of 70%, which would imply that you have to solve at least 16 of these 23 questions correctly. I'm not sure whether this is true or not, and also I'm not sure whether this information is even helpful or not. Now, in terms of key challenges, it can be stressful to maneuver back and forth between these different documents, even though you're provided with references on where to look at. Key challenge number one for sure is to manage your time, because 2 minutes per question is not much of it, and as usually you have to avoid getting hung up for too long to a single question. Now let's move on from the BCG Potential Test to the BCG Online Case or your Casey Chatbot interview and see what you have to expect from it. Now the BCG Online Case is still designed to evaluate your logical reasoning, data interpretation and quantitative skills. It also comes with a theme of a single business case still, but now you have to solve 8 till 10 question sets in 20 to 30 minutes, which already means that the test is much shorter than the other one, and I think this also makes it more stressful. Now, why do I talk about 8 till 10 question sets? Well, the whole Casey chatbot interview is set up to simulate a real business case interview with the real BCG interviewer, but instead of talking to a real person, you now have to talk to Casey the chatbot, and Casey will make the questions that she asks you dependent on the answers that you have given to her previously. You will have to expect both multiple choice questions, but also open response questions. And I already said there's a path dependency in this chatbot interview, and it also means that you cannot go back and forth in your answers. Again, I would like to provide you with an example so that you have a better idea of what to expect from your BCG Online Case Experience. So let's assume at the beginning of her case, Casey tells you that there's a client who wants to increase his profit. And she gives you some further data, information, and so on, and then asks you the question, which business segments do you want to focus on? And between A, B, C, and D, you decide you want to double down on A and D. And then all of a sudden you are prompted with a follow-up question by Casey, which says, why have you made this choice? Please provide the reasoning in 2 to 3 lines. And this is something that's happening very frequently in the BCG online case, that you can't just anymore get away with a maybe guessed multiple choice answer, but you often now have to provide a reasoning afterwards. And when maybe you say, okay, you think A and D seem to be the most profitable segments following your analysis, but when you may get prompted with another follow-up question that I in this case call an are you sure question. So Casey may ask you, your client actually tells you that he loves segment C. Maybe you want to reconsider your choice because at the moment you only have covered A and D. And this can now be like in a real business case interview. Maybe your interviewer wants to get you back on track for the rest of the case. Or also it can be a trap question. And you have to take a decision here. So this is these question sets that you have to expect in your BCG online case experience. So the BCG online case brings the game again one step closer to the McKinsey Imbellus game, because now the focus doesn't anymore lie exclusively on your results, but also on your reasoning, your approach, your thought process, and so on. And this is just like in a real business case interview, where the interviewer, yes, will check the results that you have produced, but he or she will also pay great attention to the approach that you have adopted, your structure, and so on. At the end of your Casey chatbot interview, you will be granted 1 minute to prepare a 1 minute video summary taken from home with your webcam, in which you have to cover your conclusions and your recommendations on this case. Sometimes you are given a second chance for a second recording, but I wouldn't rely on that technically. In terms of the evaluation of your test performance, there may be again a cutoff score, but it's also possible that candidates are compared with each other relatively. To be honest, it's not really something that you should think about much now. And also your test performance is most likely evaluated both automated and by human beings, because you have some verbal answers, some verbal reasoning, and it's very likely that HR people will watch your video summary. So in terms of the evaluation of your Casey test performance, I came across this funny statement by a former BCG applicant who actually said on a message board, "It's just a data point, not all that important. My internet cut out in the middle and I didn't get to finish the case. I still got the offer from BCG, so just prepare for a normal case, you will be fine." So I think it's actually really crazy, and I'm not sure you can rely on that, but just you see how arbitrary things sometimes can be. So much on this comparison between the BCG online test and the BCG online case. Now I would like to provide you with hot tips on how to excel in your Casey chatbot interview. There's so much BCG green around me. Guys, you ask me as a former McKinsey consultant to help you to get into BCG? Are you sure you can trust me? Of course you can. For preparing for your Casey chatbot interview, the first homework I give to you is watch the video that I have made on the McKinsey problem-solving game Imbellus. In Imbellus you have to manage ecosystems, but most of the lessons I teach you there also apply to the BCG Online case. So if you want to take full advantage of this video, watching the Imbellus video is a prerequisite. Now I don't want to repeat everything from there, but just as a recap on some of the highlights from the Imbellus video. Still, I think Imbellus is more elegant and innovative than Casey. I mean, it takes you outside of a business context, its evaluation is fully automated, and in terms of aesthetics, it just looks so much better than Casey. I explained to you the reasons why consulting firms make use of online assessments in general, and also, like Imbellus, Casey can come before or in parallel with remote or in-person case interviews. It depends on your local BCG office, and this comes with different sets of implications for your individual recruiting process. I highlighted for you what you need to take care of. For sure, have your calculator ready, pen and paper, even you will have much less time for taking notes compared to the Imbellus assignment. If you watch the video until the end, you will see how my studio gets flooded, and you also will see how my friend Crabman chases me even to the beach. There he is. Now, if you like this video so far, please smash the like button and subscribe to the Human Consulting channel for more quality content to come. Also, I'm convinced that this video is super valuable, and if you agree, please share it with people in need, share it in your local university Facebook group, in your case study group, wherever, and let me know in the comments if you like with whom you have shared it so that I can thank you for that. Now, the best is yet to come. Now I want to give you further tips on how to excel during your Casey chatbot interview. Hello, I am Casey. The number one challenge of a Casey chatbot interview is to manage time. The maths questions are not even that difficult, but managing the time is challenging. I wouldn't rely too much on the display that tells you how many questions you have remaining, because remember, Casey at any time can ask you unexpected follow-up questions which actually extend a certain question set. Also, Casey will remind you every 5 minutes how much time you have left, which just makes you nervous and causes stress. As a first lifesaver, I advise you to always first take a look at the question you get asked before you read through all the fluff instructions, because then you already know which data you have to identify to answer the question. And be aware that for exactly this reason, you will be confronted with lots of confusing and redundant data. Let me go back to this example from earlier to illustrate to you what I just said. This question is a BCG Potential Test question, but could actually appear in the BCG Online case too. It is not difficult to solve, but it is blown up. Again, you may want to pause the video now to solve this question. I give the answer to you now. You are asked to identify the gasoline price that maximizes the profit from your gasoline sales. When you first quickly scan the information provided for required data, you realize that this is fluff and that this is fluff and not needed. Also, the chart is confusing with the 3 plots in one chart. They could just tell you that your gasoline price per liter is constant at 1.50 euro per liter, and this plot with the prices that you can set just matches the information in your answer options. Essentially, you only need to calculate your profit per liter as price minus cost per liter and multiply this with gasoline demand at those 4 prices that you can choose from. So if you charge 1.50 euro per liter, then this is the same as your cost and you earn 0 profit regardless of demand. If you do this for price C, 1.70 euro per liter, where demand is 100 liter, you will find that this is the profit maximizing price. Casey, so proud of you. Thank you. When it comes to multiple choice questions, in contrast to common advice out there, I suggest to you not to rely on the process of elimination, because I think our brain is hardwired to find the true solution. Furthermore, in the Casey chatbot interview, you get often prompted with a follow-up question asking you, can you explain why you chose that particular answer? And then I think it's easier to argue in favor of a positive answer that you have given. You may use a calculator, but wherever you can, try to rely on rough estimates to save time. Unfortunately, you sometimes may be confronted with an open response question for a quantitative answer, and then of course you have to provide an exact result. If Casey confronts you with what I call an "are you sure" question, so it asks you, are you sure that this is the data you want to select, or are you sure you want to choose this approach, not another one, then this can be a signal that you are off track and that Casey wants to bring you back to where the meat is in this case. I would take this question as a signal to reconsider your choices, but then also it can be a trap question and you just have to follow through with the approach that you have chosen. Sometimes the language used in the instructions or in the answer options can be ambiguous or confusing, and you can be sure that this is by intent. Unfortunately, now there is no interviewer that you can ask for clarification, and you just have to make an assumption and hope that you stand on the right side. In the BCG Online case, you may use a calculator, but I suggest to you that in your preparations, you do not use a calculator and instead practice your mental maths, because this skill you also need to excel in the actual business case interviews. I told you earlier that at the end of your Casey Chatbot interview, you will have to provide a brief elevator pitch or video summary of 1 minute. And I suggest to you that you act like as you would at the end of a standard business case interview. You will give a brief recommendation, a brief reasoning behind your recommendations, and also say something like you are happy to dive deeper into this case once you have more data or something they like. Most importantly, remain confident, don't show your stress. I will teach you further strategies on how to deal with certain types of questions of a BCG Online case in part 4 of this video. Casey wants to play with you. Now let me tell you how to prepare effectively for the BCG Online case, and I had promised to you that in this chapter I'm going to drop some serious bombs. The BCG Potential Test and the BCG Online case are to a certain extent similar, because both try to assess the same capabilities in you, and they also both come in the disguise of a business case interview. That also means that my advice from the Imbellus video still holds true. Especially if you have only limited time available, I suggest to you that you prioritize binge practicing business case interviews, because this comes with 2 benefits for you. First, you have to be good at business case interviews anywhere. I mean, if you go to McKinsey or BCG, but also at the other consulting firms. And second, by practicing these business case interviews, you also hone the exact same skills that you need to excel at the BCG Online case. However, if you actually do have a bit more time available, then you can also specifically prepare for the BCG Online case. And preparing for the BCG Online case is actually a bit easier compared to the Imbellus assignment, which is more of a black box. Now let me drop the first bomb in this chapter. The Casey chatbot actually was developed by a former BCG junior partner, and he offered the chatbot to BCG that is now using it. At the same time, he has also developed Casey mock tests that he now sells to BCG applicants, which I think is a terrific business model. The good news is that he also offers 1 free mock test on his website, which actually is a 20-minute training session. You can only take it once per registered email address, so take it seriously. And I think it might bring you as close as possible to the real BCG Online case experience. Just when making this video, I noticed they may have the intention to take down the free test. So in the video description, I provide 2 links in case the link to the free test doesn't work anymore at the time you are watching this video. I have not tried the additional Casey mock tests that he sells for preparation, and I'm not sure if you need them. In case you try them, please share your experience with the UN Consulting community in the comments below. Let me drop the second bomb of this chapter. The top consulting firms over the last couple of years have released actually quite a few materials that are also super useful for you to prepare for the BCG Online case. Also, there's a number of free resources available where you can practice SHL style, GMAT style tests online, which I think is super useful for getting yourself used to taking such tests in an online environment. Now, as a service to you, I have compiled a long list with free resources with links to these practice tests, which I think are super useful for you to prepare for the BCG Online case as well as other consulting online tests, and I'm updating this list continuously. It's very easy for you to get it. Just sign up for the UN Consulting newsletter. The link is provided in the description below. When you get a welcome email, have to click a single button, and when you get delivered this list with free resources straight to your inbox. And I think it is super useful both to prepare for the BCG Online case as well as for other consulting online tests. To drop a third bomb in this section, I found a link to an official BCG Casey chatbot interview mock test. See my screenshot here. I think there actually is a glitch. If you read this, I think this test should be only open to actual BCG applicants, and I'm currently not applying for a BCG job. So if you want to take this test, I suggest that you use a different email address from the one that you intend to use for applying to BCG. This mock test consists of 6 rather easy questions, and I finished the test far ahead of time. So I suggest not to take this test too seriously, but rather to use it to get yourself familiar with the Casey Chatbot interface. I've added the link to this free mock test to my list of free resources, and I will keep it in there for as long as this loophole has not been fixed. Thank you. Well, indeed, if you find the UN Consulting project useful for yourself and want to help me grow my channel, please hit the like button and subscribe to the UN Consulting channel for more quality content to come. Also, if you know others that you think may benefit from my videos, please happily share them with them. Casey wants some robot love. I really have enough of this green stuff for now. I want to go back to my Fiji comfort zone and enjoy a glass of Fiji cola. I have not yet explained to you the type of questions that you have to expect in the BCG Online case, and I will do that right now in this interactive training session at mock test, in which I will serve as your tutor. As an example, I'm using an old McKinsey practice test that McKinsey gave out to candidates who wanted to prepare for the McKinsey problem-solving test. I still think this test is very useful to get yourself familiar with the type of questions that you also have to expect in the BCG Potential Test and the BCG Online case. Originally, you were given 45 minutes to complete the 10 questions in this mock test, so you may infer from that this test was a bit more difficult than the actual BCG Online case, but I would not bet on that. Furthermore, originally you were allowed to use a calculator in this test. I suggest to you that for the purpose of this practice session, you do not use your calculator and instead seize the opportunity to practice your mental math skills. I suggest for the purpose of this training session, do not clock your time, just try to solve these questions for now. If you struggle, I will provide you with clues how to solve these questions. I will show you the ideal path to solution and also provide you with tips on how to approach these types of questions. Also, please let me know in the comments if you find this type of training session useful and what else you would like to see from me. Now let me reveal to you why I've chosen this background and theme for this video, because actually the fictional company in this practice test is called Fiji Cola. Now let's get started. In case you think this is not the right moment for you to take this mock test, then of course you can just pause the video and come back later to take this mock test with me once you feel ready for it. So read the Fiji Cola case outline and make yourself familiar with the exhibits. Pause the video now and resume it once you are ready to go to the first question. Welcome to the first question of this practice test. Read the question now and make a first attempt at solving this question. Pause the video now and resume for my first clue. My clue: select those data that help you determine the market size or demand of cola in the whole of Fiji. Now pause the video again and resume for the solution and tips on this type of questions. Solution: you want to know the demand for cola in the whole of Fiji, so actually you should combine information sets 3 and 5, which will lead you to a correct answer D. Because when you can multiply the population of Fiji with the estimate of average consumption of cola per person in Viti Levu. Now, the results of a marketing survey could also be potentially interesting, but we don't really know what's in there. And the first two answers deal with production and have nothing to do with market demand. As I had advised you earlier, I suggest not to try to eliminate the wrong answers, because I think our brain is hardwired to find the true solution. Also, Casey often prompts you with a follow-up question to ask you to provide a reasoning for the answer that you have just chosen. This type of multiple choice question with text answer options is very common also for the BCG Online case, and I suggest to you that you do not spend too much time on answering this type of questions, because you want to save your time for the more time-consuming calculation questions. Welcome to question number 2. Read it now and make a first attempt at solving it yourself. Pause the video now and resume it to obtain my first clue. My clue: you want to look for characteristics that can potentially generate a competitive advantage for the competitors of Fiji Cola. Now pause again and resume for the solution. Solution: answer option B is correct, which combines the reasons 1, 2 and 4. So more effective advertising, cheaper prices and better distribution chains can all constitute a competitive advantage. With regards to reason number 3, having state-of-the-art production facilities, they may help to reduce costs, but if they're not used to reduce prices, there's no benefit for the customer. Maybe they can help to produce drinks with a better taste, but it doesn't say so. So this reason is a bit ambiguous. Number 5 is just fluff talk, doesn't matter. So after this warm-up with these 2 multiple choice text-based questions, let's now move to the first math question. Question number 3. Read it and try to solve it. Pause the video now and resume it for the first clue. Clue number 1. Actually, the data and text provided with this question do not help you at all to solve this question. And this is a common trap that you get confronted with unrelated or useless data. You actually have to go back to the case outline and use that data to solve this question. I show it to you here. Try it again, pause the video now and resume for the second clue. Clue number 2. You need to combine data from both charts. Now pause again and resume for the solution. Solution: start with the bottom chart where you're actually given total cola sales in Viti Levo, so not just Fiji Cola but also including figures from competitors. And then you actually have to multiply this by your market share for Fiji Cola to get to Fiji Cola sales. Take the difference between year 1 and year 5 and you will find that answer C, $0.79 million is correct. Question number 4. Now you understand the game. Try to solve it yourself first. Pause the video now and resume for the first clue. Clue number 1. Now you actually do need the information that was provided in advance of question number 3. I will pull it back here. Now pause and resume for clue number 2. Clue number 2. You do not need all information provided here. Some of it is just presented to confuse you. Select the data that you need. Pause now and resume for clue number 3. Clue number 3. I highlight for you the information that you actually need to solve this question. Now pause and resume for the solution. Solution: you have to take the following steps. First, estimate the total sales incentives, which are the 25% of his $88,000, which gives you $22,000. Then estimate the sales commissions by liter sold in the different regions, which is the difference between the sales price and the minimum price. In the third step, combine those sales commissions with the liter sold and sold for East, which should lead you to a total for the East sales commission of $4,000. Then you have to divide these East commissions by the East liters sold, $4,000, by 0.4 million liters, and you get the East sales commission per liter, $0.01. Then to obtain the average price in East per liter, you have to combine the minimum price with the total company profit, and you know 10% of it is $0.01 sales commission, so 100% would be $0.10, and the right answer is $1.22, answer B. Let's have a glass of Fiji Cola on this one, because of course it's an absolute nightmare question set out to confuse you and to cost you time. I wouldn't expect such a question to appear in your BCG online case, but very much in another consulting online test, and it would be a very good candidate to be skipped and to be gone back to later if you still had time available. Now, having said that, in an actual business case interview, it's very realistic to expect questions where you have to combine very small with very big numbers, and that's why it's so good to practice your mental math skills. Question number 5. Read and try to solve it. Now pause the video and resume for clue number 1. Clue number 1. Now you again need the information provided to you in advance of question number 3. I provided to you here. Pause the video and resume for clue number 2. Clue number 2, I highlight for you the information that you actually need to solve this question. Now pause the video again and resume for the solution. Solution. As a first step, calculate the profit of the Fiji Cola company. For this you have to sum up the liters sold in all regions times your profit margin, which is actually defined as the minimum price minus your production cost, and that leads you to a Fiji Cola profit of $608,000. When you calculate the profits of the stores, so for instance in the north, liters sold in north times sales price for the stores minus their purchasing price of a Fiji Cola minimum price of $1.12 USD, that leads you in the north for a store profit of $190,000. Repeat for the other regions and you get to a total store profit of $722,000. Then determine the joint profit pool. That's actually $608,000 plus $722,000 or $1.3 million, and determine the store's profit share in that 722 by 1.3 million, and you get to about 54%. Answer C is correct. Now we have reached half time and can move on to question number 6. Question number 6. Try to solve it. Pause the video now and resume for the first clue. Clue number 1. You do not need to run any calculations to solve this question. Now pause the video again and resume for clue number 2. Clue number 2. In your answer, you may not mix up full-time and part-time employees in a wrong way. Now pause again and resume for the solution. Solution. You want to find the correct measure of productivity here. Answers A and E are out because by total staff employed, there's different types of employees involved here. The same for answer option B, 1.5 times by your full-time staff employed, and that neglects actually your part-time workers. And then answer option C, average weekly hours worked by staff. Again, there's two different groups of employees, doesn't make sense. So really it's answer D, where you divide by your total weekly hours worked by staff. Ready for question 7? Try to solve it yourself. Pause the video and resume for clue number 1. Clue number 1. Now of course you need information from a previous question, which I put for you here. Now again pause and resume for clue number 2. Clue number 2. Cost efficiency is defined as cost per unit of output produced, in this case labor cost per liter. Now pause and resume for the solution. Solution. First calculate the cost efficiency of a Suva plant defined as labor cost per week by liters produced per week. So this is 23 full-time employees times 40 hours and 18 part-time employees times 20 hours times $8 hourly wage by 22,000 liters. That gives you $0.465 per liter production cost. Repeat the same steps for the other two plants and then rank them from most to least cost efficient, which is first Suva, second Sigatoka, and third the Nadi plant. So answer C is correct. We have reached question number 8. Try to solve it. Pause the video now and resume for the first clue. Okay, my clue on this question is more of a joke. If you think this question is plain weird, then you are absolutely right. Also the spelling is odd. Well, pause and resume for the solution. Solution. So as I already said, these answer options look totally messy. For instance, utility costs appear in all the answer options and of course they are redundant. Answer options A and D are out immediately because they lack certain important cost factors. Answer option E looks interesting with the staff cost, but the instructions say as well as information above, which additional sets of information are important, and staff costs were already covered in question number 7. That leaves us with answer options B and C, and actually the correct answer is answer C, because all these cost factors there determine the cost efficiency of a production facility. But to be honest, for me also B could be correct because raw material cost may differ between the different plants if there's no centralized procurement function. Maybe this is assumed, we don't know. Welcome to a world of ambiguity, and this is also something that you may have to face in your BCG online case. Question number 9. Try to solve it yourself. Pause the video now and resume for the first clue. Clue number 1. You need to combine these data with information provided at question 7. Not any more information from question 6 though. I put it for you here. Now pause the video again and resume for clue number 2. Clue number 2. You need to calculate the additional profit from hiring 2 extra employees at the Nadi plant, but also consider their cost. Now pause and resume for the solution. Solution. This is actually a rather simple math question. I just find the way they use the term profit a bit odd because it should already include the labor cost. So let me say to estimate the additional profit in the Nadi plant, to estimate the revenue, that's 2,300 liters times $0.42 profit per liter, minus the cost of 2 additional full-time employees who work 40 hours a week at an hourly wage of $8.10. That leads you to $318. Answer option C is correct. Question number 10. Yay, we have almost made it. Now you are actually asked to provide your final recommendations on this case. In the BCG Online case, you would now be asked to record your video summary. Now here it's still a bit more old school, so try to answer the question now. Pause the video and resume for the solution. Solution. Answer options D and E are out immediately because we haven't even discussed demand for cola in new markets, and we also haven't touched upon erecting a new production facility at all. Answer option B could be correct because if we add 2 members of staff to the Nadi plant, we actually increase our profit. But if you redo the same calculation as we did in question number 9 for 5 new members of staff, you will figure the profit is even higher. Now, still, I think you also have to redo the calculation for 1, 3 and 4 additional members of staff, because if the profit was even higher, then answer option A would be correct. But actually, the profit maximizing number of additional staff is 5, so answer option C is correct, and we are done! Congratulations, you have made it! Well, in the meantime, Casey and Crabman have found some nerdy laugh together. If you would like to prove the fact that you have made it until here, please type robot laugh into the comments. Also, kindly let me know if you found this video and the training session useful, as well as what you would like me to cover in the future. Also, don't forget to claim your free resources for your BCG online case and consulting online test preparation. It's easy to get them. Just sign up to the UN Consulting newsletter, link in the description below. Also, if you haven't yet done so, please hit the like button and subscribe to the UN Consulting newsletter for more quality content to come. I wish you the best of luck for your BCG online case and see you soon back on UN Consulting.